Welcome to my channel. Today I will tell you about the Great Tornado of 1840. I wish you a pleasant viewing. The Great Natchez tornado was a deadly tornado that struck Natchez, Mississippi, on Thursday, May 7, 1840. Although the tornado was not officially rated, it became the second deadliest tornado in U.S. history, with at least 317 people killed and at least 109 injured. His 35-mile-long, 1,000-yard-wide path was marked by severe destruction and uncertain loss estimates, although many enslaved Africans, possibly numbering in the hundreds, reportedly died on plantations in Louisiana. Tornado expert Thomas P. In hindsight, Grisoulis rated the tornado as F4 on the Fujita scale, while in another report it was assigned the F5 category. Please like this video and subscribe to this new channel, and you will see many more interesting and useful things. The day before the tornado in Natchez, a hurricane passed through Natchitoches County. As reported in the annals of the area in 1920, Hurricane Natchez swept over the southern part of Natchitoches County on May 6, 1840, coming from the southwest and originating in the Gulf of Mexico. The next day, on May 7th, another one followed the same path. This huge tornado formed about 20 miles southwest of Natchez, shortly before p.m., and moved northeast along the Mississippi River. He followed the river directly, exposing the forests on both banks. Then the whirlwind hit the Natchez Landing River port, located below the cliff from Natchez. This gale force went through 116 flat-bottomed boats out of 120 moored in Natchez that day into the river, drowning their crews and passengers. One report estimated that 200 boaters died. Other boats were picked up and thrown onto dry land. It is reported that a fragment of the steamer window was found 30 miles from the river. Many who were doing business on the shore also died. In Natchez Landing, the destruction of apartment buildings, shops, steamboats and flat-bottomed boats was almost complete. Then the hurricane moved to the city of Natchez, although its destructive zone also covered the river and the Louisiana village of Vidalia, located directly opposite Natchez. It was reported the air was black with swirling whirlwinds of walls, roofs, chimneys, and huge beams from distant ruins. All this soared into the air, as if from a powerful catapult. The central and northern parts of Natchez were collapsed by a funnel, and many buildings were completely destroyed. 48 people died on land, 269 on the river. Natchez under the hill, the city's steamboat dock and red light district, was a picture of desolation and destruction that torments the heart and defies description. Everything is swept away, and the crushed bodies of many strangers still lie under the ruins. The descriptions of the numerous escapes and harrowing scenes would have taken up entire volumes. One of the most interesting was the rescue of Mrs. Alexander from the ruins of the Steamboat Hotel. She was found seriously injured with two children in her arms, and both of them were dead. The damage to the landscape was considered significant, and long-term, the destruction caused by this hurricane was unprecedented. For many miles, the view was unobstructed, the forest was completely destroyed, and on the cliffs of Pierre La Butte, the topsoil was torn down by several feet in places. The substance from the soil from which the wood fibers were formed was carried away or destroyed, and the wood is still a stunted, shallow growth. Although 80 years have passed since the hurricane, the force of the hurricane passed about half a mile below the mouth of the Cane River and crossed the Red River. Elie Dubois and Landry Carrasco were carried across the river and stuck in a thorn bush, unharmed. A cart and a team of oxen were carried across the river, and they were not injured. The trail of this devastating hurricane crossed Lade Lake in Swafford's Creek, and its effects are still visible today. In Natchez, the destruction was terrible. Several steamships were destroyed. The Hines was thrown into the river and capsized, and the crew and all passengers died, with the exception of 4. The wreckage of the Hines was subsequently found in Baton Rouge, with 51 bodies on board, 48 men and 3 women. Among the latter was a 3-year-old girl. The Prairie, which had just arrived from St. Louis, had its entire upper deck ripped off, and all passengers and crew were thrown into the river and drowned, including 4 women. A moored floating boat and 200 flat-bottomed boats sank, and many lives were lost. It was known that 400 people had died. The steamer Hines was raised and brought ashore about 2 weeks after the storm. The Prairie was left lying at our dock, torn to pieces by a wind stronger than the ferry would have carried the ship away. The hull and the cars are all that's left of it. Her cabin was swept away along with the floor. The wheelhouses were roofless, and what was left of the ship was horribly torn and smashed. The destruction of the steamer St. Lawrence was also reported. According to an early report, she was lifted many feet out of the water, and she instantly sank to the bottom of the river with all the people on board. The tornado was the first to hit Concordia Parish, Louisiana, as it moved northwest. The Vidalia District Court building was destroyed, and Judge Keaton was killed. Prime Minister Lapis owned a sugar plantation in the path of the hurricane and suffered severe damage at his plantation in Arno, below Vidalia. All of his Negro homes were blown away. 4 or 5 blacks died on the spot. About 20 were seriously injured. Some of them were fatally wounded, and 30 or 40 were seriously injured. His plantation is shaking from the moans after the hurricane. He estimates his damage at $30,000. The newspaper Free Trader wrote, there were reports from plantations 20 miles away in Louisiana that the fury of the storm was terrible. Hundreds were killed, homes were torn down like chaff from their foundations, forests were uprooted, and crops were trampled and destroyed. Never, never, never has there been such devastation and destruction. Henry Tooley reported that 74 people were injured in the city of Natchez and 35 on the river. Senate document number 199 was a report by the Commission for the Establishment of the Boundary between the United States and the Republic of Texas. In the Journal of the Joint Commission, dated May 26, 1840, the scouts reported observations made in the area of the Sabine River, the border between Louisiana and Texas. Today, we cross the path of a recent tornado that knocked down trees and reeds on the banks of the river. Its direction, as noted, passed from 72 degrees southwest to 72 degrees northeast, and the trajectory width was to 70370 meters. It was assumed that this was the same tornado that caused such terrible destruction and loss of life in Natchez on May 7. The first news report about the tornado was written for the New Orleans Picayune newspaper at p.m. and shipped downriver on the steamer Meteor. Local entrepreneurs, Mr. Ruffner and S.J. Boyd, estimated the financial damage at $1,260,000, equivalent to $39,685,800 in 2024. Planter Stephen Duncan reportedly paid the rent so that Dr. Pollard could house and treat the wounded at the Tremont House Hotel, which was converted into a hospital during the crisis. Other capitalist slave owners in the area sent large detachments of slaves to work clearing rubble and removing victims' bodies from collapsed buildings, where they died. The final death toll was 48 people on land, 47 dead in Natchez and 1 in Vidalia, and 269 people on the river, mostly due to the sinking of flat-bottomed boats. In addition to the 317 dead, only 109 were injured, indicating the intensity of the tornado. The tornado is still considered the second most destructive in American history and caused $1,260,000 in damage. The actual death toll may be higher than indicated, as slave deaths were often not taken into account during this period.